Hi, I'm going to be talking about pop art today, but before I get into that, I want to do like a little survey or quiz. Okay, I'm going to ask you all to raise your hand. You can look at the pictures, but which artwork do you all think looks the most impressive? Raise your hand for A, B, or C. Okay. A is the pop art one in this example. Okay, which artwork in your opinion do you think is the most well-known? Raise your hand for A, B, or C. Okay, that's interesting because C is actually a Picasso piece. And B is Monet. Okay, which artwork is your favorite? Raise your hand for A, B, okay, or C. Okay, that's all really interesting because people think that the first one is pop art, if you couldn't tell, but people say that the youth really like pop art because it's different and out there. But yeah, I asked all these questions because I personally grew up in art classes where we were taught not to do pop art or not to experiment with it. We didn't even learn about it. I attempted the pop art style for the first time when I was 16, and that was because I thought I was done with art classes, so I'm like, oh, I'm just going to try this. So today I'm going to be teaching you a history of pop art and how to go about making it, since no one ever really talks about it. Okay, so 1947, this was a piece done by Eduardo Pelosi, and this is actually a collage. He's a British artist. Kind of the pop art movement actually started more in Europe, but yeah, this is, people don't consider this a pop art piece, but they consider it to be a very like foundational work in the pop art movement. So yeah, the artist himself said this piece was more about like mass media, and he was commenting on that. He made a lot of like ads and stuff like that in his time as an artist. Okay, so this one is 1956. The pop art movement, I know, is kind of credited with like ranging from the 50s to the 70s, which I think is interesting because I think we still see pop art. But Charney, a professor at Cambridge University, said that he thought the emergence of pop art was very rapid and successful, and this piece is actually credited with being the first piece of pop art, which is kind of funny because I don't really think it looks like pop art, but it is. Okay, I really like this one. This is 1960. This is by an artist, James Rosencrantz, and he was in New York, and the pop art movement was really big in like London and then in New York City, and this is a piece like JFK, and he was running for president at the time, and the artist said this piece was kind of about like consumer culture and like mass media, and I think that's interesting because a lot of pop art is like that, has that satirical like commenting on things in a like funny, sarcastic way. So yes, that's this one. And 1960, this was kind of like when pop art was really taking off. This is 1963. This one was earlier in my little questions. This one's actually one of my favorites. I really like this one. This artist was really inspired, he said, by comic books at the time, and I believe he was actually like sued for this because it looked a lot like other stuff. Rhodey, a writer from Manchester University, said that pop art doesn't reach out, like it doesn't depict real things, but the image of real things. And that's what I like about it, because this person's like drowning in her sorrows, which is something that we do, but not literally like this. So I think that's really interesting. He tried a lot of new techniques in this piece. He was also a New York artist as well. Okay, this is one that you've probably all seen. This is by Andy Warhol, who is one of the most famous pop artists ever. An art teacher, Stone, said that Warhol is the machine to kill romanticism, which is like that beautiful style of art of like the model, the woman like posing, very like that. So I think it's funny that like he's killing off that movement. So Andy Warhol, I think he made this, he was around his house for inspiration, and he painted this. I believe the first one was hand painted too, which is really cool. Okay, so now that you know how, like a brief little timeline of pop art, I'm going to tell you like how to make it. So the first thing you have to think about in this day and age is whether you want to do digital or hand painted. So that one is digital, and then that one's hand painted. these are both done by the same artist. So the digital one took around like 2 hours, and the painted one took between 8 to 10 hours. So that's a big difference. And because of that, I prefer digital. And with hand painting, you need to do lots of like thin coats of paint so it'll like look flat. Whereas doing digital, if you mess up, you can just undo it. And it's much, much easier and not as messy. But yes, so if you choose to go hand painted, and this is same for digital too, you need to come up with an idea. And sometimes that's the longest part of an artistic process, is coming up with your plan. And like, I usually take like 2 hours when doing this part to actually figure out how I'm gonna like organize my idea on paper. So after you sketch it, you need to come up with a color scheme. So that part can take a while because you don't want to overwhelm your viewer, because pop art colors are usually very vibrant in your face. So I like to pick like 5 colors. And then after that, you paint it, which takes a while, and then you outline it and add all the little details. So, yes. I hope you all enjoyed learning about pop art. And now that you know, like, you have an appreciation for the history of it and you know how to do it, I encourage you all to go out and make some pop art.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, Jordan, how did it go? What did you think?
I think it went well. I was excited to talk about it, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you said you were 16 when you did your first piece, and that was your piece that you did up there.
Not the first one,
No. No, not the Okay.
Oh yeah, but those were mine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you for sharing your.
Yeah.
Audience, if you could please offer some feedback.
I just thought your energy was like really like cool the whole time. I don't know how to explain it, but like it made us all like, I don't know, it made me feel like excited to learn about it.
I thought it was very conversational, which was nice, and you definitely show your interest through like the way you were speaking.
You set up a good timeline as you go through each picture and through each painting, and how to like change over time.
I like your like structure. I like how you started with audience interaction, and you could tell when you were going from the beginning with drugs.
Okay. All right, Jordan. First of all, I too liked your survey at the beginning. I thought that was kind of a fun way to sort of introduce your topic and sort of get us paying attention to it. I might have been thoughtful about the survey of them as it related to the body of your speech. And so you did that to some degree. But I would think about how you can thread through those through just a little bit. And I know you did. You talked about some of those images as well. Andy Warhol stands out, and your favorite, the Drowning in Your Sorrows. And so I would kind of make, maybe even if it's just making a statement. So for those of you that picked this one in my survey earlier, right, just to kind of thread it through and have it be have it have purposefulness as you explain it. That's where I'm going with this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You certainly established your credibility in the body of in the introduction pretty well, and you noted what you were going to be talking about, sort of the chronology and how to do it. I might have. I like the fact that you talked us through several images. I might have maybe given that a little clarity in terms of what the timeline was going to be, like, the first 10 years of it or something along those lines. Just it has to do with language and level of specificity with it. You noted we could do them, and then your second main point being how do you go about making them digitally or hand-drawn, which I think worked. I might have given maybe a little more detail to that, but I don't know how your time was. So I don't know if it was as relevant as sort of learning about the timeline of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. And maybe timeline, like kind of chunk it into like, when it first originated, maybe in the 70s, and because Warhol was sort of 70s-ish, 60s, 70s-ish, and then maybe current day or something like that. I'm not sure. You clearly made a shift in the body of your speech when you were moving transitions-wise, so that was really clear as well. And I would say just careful not to make it persuasive at the end. Like try it. Just say you can appreciate it a little bit more or be able to identify better. Would be a suggestion there. Make sure we're highlighting your reference list, your references just a little bit more. I like I said with your visual aid, I appreciated your early on that I liked. And then I also appreciated that you talked us through some of those images and what those were. I might have given maybe a little more detail about the piece. I know that in the Warhol one you said that one was hand painted. I might have maybe given a little more detail about some of the other ones as well. Would be a suggestion. I thought you did a really nice job conveying your interest in this topic. You had a smile the entire time you were talking. You were really engaged. It was really conversational. You made eye gaze with us throughout, and you could just tell you were really, really interested in sharing. The one thing that your nervous cue is a little bit is you kind of let sentences just kind of go.
Yeah.
So just be attentive to that. Be the authority. You're the authority up there. You know what we're talking about. So hold on to it. All right?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.